Put your big boy pants on. We're going to tackle this story because the media is trying really hard not to cover the sex scandal involving two men having sex in the Capitol and posting it to gay sex sites themselves. That happened. This news was largely missing from major news networks, but they are slowly starting to admit this is happening. It's being investigated. These are the same networks that told us that the U.S. Capitol was so sacred during January 6th that it needed to be protected with the January 6th hearings and all manner of prosecution. I guess, though, that defiling the U.S. Capitol only means rushing in or being invited in, depending on who you were on January 6th. But having sex, just fine there. Here is a story only from the local Fox station.
New at 10, the United States Senate is being rocked by a sex scandal. U.S. Capitol Police are investigating after a sex tape surfaced online. It showed two men engaged in sex acts inside room 216 of the Hare Senate Office building. That's a famous hearing room where U.S. senators have grilled high-profile presidential nominees, including Supreme Court justices. It's unclear if the tape will be considered criminal conduct, but it may have violated Senate ethics rules.
May have.
We're going to look at some of the rules that actually do state you're not supposed to have sex.
I don't know if that was. Yeah. I don't know if that was entirely ethical there, Guy. We're looking into that. We're looking into that.
Hey, is that the gavel?
I've been referring to it as an insurrection.
No. Gross. Okay, now I'm not going to show you the images. You can find them on Daily Caller if you want to.
You don't.
You don't. Yeah. When I was working on this story today, I went like this the whole time. Like, didn't want to see that. Didn't want to see that. Now, okay, I don't want to get too salacious into the details, but I do want to present this question. This is sort of the paradigm that we're going to talk about this. Is this a one-off, or are politicians all perverts and they're using Washington, D.C. as their perverted sex escapade like House of Cards? I'm leaning towards the latter. Remember last year we brought this story to you. Former Congressman Madison Cawthorn said that he'd been invited to many orgies involving Washington politicians. He said he was ousted for this, and he was indeed a one-term congressman.
He
said, oh, I've been invited to a lot of them. Most of them are pretty old, like my grandparents' age, and they're still at it. And I have so many questions about like why you're interested in using your energy like that when you're an elderly person. I just don't see myself that motivated.
You're like, normally we sit by the fire and read a book, and no, I'm closing this up.
Right.
I'm 70 years old.
I got an orgy to go to.
I got an orgy to get to tonight.
I mean, it's no wonder that they're so supportive of the biopharmaceutical complex, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, the Viagra.
Because I don't think that you can otherwise, you would otherwise want to do that, right?
No. I mean, can you imagine, maybe that's why Mitch McConnell's having so many strokes lately. Like, can you imagine that guy?
I don't want to. Now, he was ousted for this. We remember Madison Cawthorn. Over the weekend, he said this about this sex scandal. I told you.
Right.
I told you.
That's a simple sentence.
Right. And we know exactly what he's referring to. Now, I just want to put this out here because he said it. Right. There have been many sex scandals about other politicians that we're always like, is there anything there? Here's what we know pretty solidly, though, is that President Biden also had sexual acts inside the Senate offices. I want to bring you this story because this is another inconvenient story. And I think that that's why the press is ignoring it, because they tried so hard to ignore the sexual attack inside the Capitol from President Biden on Tara Reade, and I want to remind you of it. So this would bring back around, like, who exactly is allowed to be having sex in the Capitol? Is that inappropriate?
Not if you're Biden.
Should we maybe write it down a little bit more explicitly so it's not done because this is maybe the honor and reputation of the United States to protect?
Someone points out, actually, the naughty kitten in our chat says Bob Dole. You remember Bob Dole did commercials for Viagra?
Yes.
Senator Bob Dole did commercials for Viagra. Oh, wow, I forgot about that. That's a good one. Thank you, chat room.
All right. Let's just remind ourselves what Tara Reade said happened to her when she was a Democratic staffer. She worked for Joe Biden in 1993. This is from her book, Left Out. I warn you, it's gross. I only brought things to highlight from this story when she tells the story. She said that she was in her offices and someone said, hey, the senator wants you to bring her the gym bag. And he had just left like 5 minutes before. And she's like, me? Why? And they just gave her the bag and she's like, why? And so they said, hurry, go get him. So she walks out. She says she walks really quickly. She made this joke to herself, like, this is so heavy. What's in here? A body? A Republican? And then he calls her and she says, oh, that's interesting, because she didn't know that he knew her name, because a senior staffer had said that she would shout out his name regularly on the Senate floor. It took 2 years for him to remember his name. Now you have no prayer of Joe Biden remembering anybody's name. Now she said, yes, Senator, here's her account. Here's her account. She says his hands were all over her. He pinned her against the wall. He used his knee to push her knees apart. I'm paraphrasing here. You can read for yourself. He grabbed her and then he used his hands to penetrate her. And he said, do you want to go somewhere else? I want to F-word you. You can read it for yourself. She was just clammed up and said, no, I'm not interested in this. And then he says, oh, come on, man.
Come on, man.
Recognize that?
Yeah, come on, man.
I heard you liked me. And she said she just kind of froze up. And then when he sort of, pushed her away and he said, you're nothing to me. You understand? Nothing. Now go. You're fine. You're okay. Now, this is her reporting, but she did tell many people. She did make official reports that were documented, and she was offered walking papers because of it. And in fact, later, she was so distraught about it that when she got home to California, her and her mom were really working on, she was just traumatized by it. Her mom called in to Larry King, and this clip surfaced of her who she says is her mom, calling for advice to Larry King. Watch.
Yes, hello. I'm wondering what a staffer would do besides go to the press in Washington. My daughter has just left there after working for a prominent senator and could not get through with her problems at all. And the only thing she could have done was go to the press, and she chose not to do it out of respect for him.
Or she had a story to tell, but out of respect for the person she worked for, she didn't tell it.
That's true.
Okay, so there's copious evidence that Joe Biden did this. The media does not want to pick up this story because Tara Reade is a Democrat, because it's Joe Biden. They believe all the women, but not the ones who are Democrats. So is this why the press is so silent about this recent sex scandal? Because if it's bad that these young men were having sex in the Capitol, it's bad that Joe Biden was doing sex acts in 1993 inside the Capitol. It seems to me that it's not unusual. That's my take on it, right?
No, I mean, and as the Gateway pundit reported this afternoon, that in fact, I think Representative Santos has called out, multiple people have pointed this out, that there are cages in the Capitol building, cages, and where often this kind of stuff happens in the cages of the Capitol building.
Gross.
Imagine what happens in cages at the Capitol building.
Okay, so back to what we know about it. One of the men involved in this tape has been identified as a staffer for Maryland Senator Ben Cardin, a Democrat. He is 24-year-old Aiden Massey Serpopsky, who reportedly posted these photos and videos of this sex act himself. They're calling him the Bottom, if you want to work that out on your own. He had previously been active for Senator Cardin, promoting diversity and inclusivity programs. Of course he had. Senator Cardin says this staffer has been dismissed and he will have no further comment on this personal matter. Now, here is what this young man posted online. I found this picture of him, and Clayton said we should not show his bum, but there's a picture of him with his bum out, and I put some peaches on it.
Yeah, we're not showing his naked ass on our show, so we covered it.
But he went to a beach with his naked ass and posted this picture. So here's what he's saying. He said, "This is a difficult time for me. I'm being attacked for who I love." Let's come back to this word love.
Let's circle back.
To pursue a political agenda. While some of my actions in the past have shown poor judgment, I love my job and would never disrespect my workplace. but you did. Any attempt to characterize my actions otherwise are fabricated, and I will be exploring what legal options are available to me in this matter. Okay, you need to, if it's true that it was him that posted it, he's going to have to sue himself.
Right, that's like a reach around. That's like a legal reach around.
Yeah, pretty proud of yourself for that one, huh? You like that one.
I'll be here all night.
Now, again, he's saying that this is love. I don't know if he's in love or not. He's insinuating that it's homophobia that he's being attacked on. I would say we'd be equally upset if it were heterosexual sex, because government buildings should not be a place for sex. Or is that an old-fashioned thing? Decency. The other man involved was reportedly a German student who's working for the German government. On Twitter, they're calling him the top. Now you know who's the bottom and who's the top. He is reportedly a student at Elliott School of International Affairs in Washington, D.C., which is near the Senate. The video was shared on gay websites, again, apparently by the two men themselves. I don't know if one of them consented and one of them didn't. And the sex took place in this room here where Amy Klobuchar sits.
Sorry.
Yeah, what?
I just find it funny that Amy Klobuchar has to sit in that seat. I don't know.
Do you find that a romantic spot? Can we just put that back on the screen?
Oh my God.
Is this a place for romance, guys? Does this say to you, sexy town?
Can you imagine if you're Amy Klobuchar and you're like, when is my next hearing? Like, have they fumigated this area? Like, I mean, are they going to tear down this?
Is that safe? Is it,
Yeah, I mean, oh my God.
Right.
And as someone pointed out in the chat, is this the first time that this has happened? I mean, how many
Clearly not.
Yeah, how many other times has this happened in the Senate building? And
Between
by the way,
these two people?
I don't know. I'm just saying in this room or in other Senate chambers, all of the 70,000 hours of January 6th footage, right? From every camera, every location, every corner of the Capitol. There's no camera here at all in this building, in the Senate chambers. We have nothing, only his own private photos and videos. Come on. I don't buy that for a second. This is there. They've got to have
the
access
Epstein
to
brand cameras.
They go out
non-working Epstein brand cameras.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine a Saturday Night Live commercial?
From the Senate perspective, the true crime here isn't that it happened. It's that somebody posted it. That it basically, like, the veil was lifted, and that I think that's what, from their perspective, that's the true crime. Is because they all know it's going on, and they wouldn't care otherwise.
Right. So it's like you broke the seal now. Like, everyone knows what's going on. There are cages in the basement of the Capitol building where it's known to happen on a regular basis.
Well, then I would say that leaves it to us. And we get to decide whether or not that's appropriate or not, right? Because they're taxpayer buildings. We should decide, hey, we don't like this. It doesn't represent us. It makes us look like an entire country of perverts. Can we make sure this doesn't happen anymore? Go off site if you're going to do this. Right now it's for us to say, hey, we want some, the book thrown at these guys so that this stops happening, because we're pretty sure that it's happening a lot.
Yeah, make an example of them. This happens, and then you post it all over social media, gloating about it, because the video, like, they're panning to show that they're in the Senate hearing room.
You watched it?
Well, I saw the edited version of it. Yeah, but they're panning to like, scan the room, and they're like, hey, look where we are. Like, it pans over to the Senate emblem on the wall. Right. It's like they're proud of it. So yeah, throw the book at these guys.
I don't know if they're proud of it. I think that they're showing off their deviance as a sexual. The deviance is part of the sexual appeal for them and their audience.
Well, and I think Democrats love it. I mean, look at what happened at the White House when you had the topless
transgender
man, rolling around at the White House and parading around with President Biden. But in that instance,
we did get President Biden saying, and the White House saying, this is totally inappropriate. We don't stand for this.
But here they're not saying anything.
Right. And so, again, how does this play out to the world diplomatically, right? How are you going to go meet with, say, someone from a conservative Islamic country and say, oh, yeah, come to the White House? Can't guarantee that everyone's got their pants on when you get here, or will not be having sex in the hallways, but please come for serious government business, right? It's just an indication that we collectively don't take ourselves seriously and have no honor and decorum. So is it illegal it is. Pundits are guessing that they'll use DC Code Section 22-1312, which prohibits lewd, indecent, or obscene acts in public, it says, to the genitalia or anus. Specifically. So you can't be using your anus in these rooms, you guys. Also, but the question is it public if they lock the door? Well, they made it public on the internet. Also, possibly code 1361, which means that you willfully injure or commit any depredation against public property. That means to destroy or plunder. Would this count? Well, if I were Amy Klobuchar, I would say, yeah, this desk is depredated.
What is depredated?
Wanted. Like destroyed or plundered.
Oh.
I mean, are you going to sit there again if you're her?
Hell no.
No. And I want a new chair, too.
I'd ask to switch seats with Senator Schumer.
Okay. So anyway, at this point, it's in the hands of Capitol Police. This man is saying, I'm going to take legal action. He's going to need a
Lindsey
lawyer.
Graham, I'd switch seats with Lindsey Graham. Tell him to sit there.
No, he has rumors about his own sexual perversions,
I know.
too.
My point is he'd be fine with it.
Right. But then you don't want to go and sit in his seat.
Oh, right. You good point. Man.
At this point, you
I don't
bring
want to be in that whole
tarp.
building.
Right.
Yeah. But we're really upset about the QAnon shaman. Right. That's what we're really upset about. A guy who wears horns and a furry hat and walks around with a flag.
Yeah.
Like that's the stuff we're concerned about. Not this, I guess.
Right. So I don't know. Does it make any sense to call your elected representative and say, hey, I want laws written that says no more of this. I want no more of this. I want to live in a respectable government.
Isn't it already the law, though? You just pointed out these codes. Like, this is like, to me, when they put in, like, now it's a hate crime.
It is, but,
Like, what is a hate crime? It's already illegal to kill somebody. Now it's more hateful when you kill somebody because you didn't like their skin. Like, what the hell? What are you doing?
Think of last week, this lawmaker passed a resolution to get university presidents to step down. That doesn't mean they have to. They just passed a resolution to say that they wanted this, right? They pass bullshit resolutions all the time. How about you pass a resolution saying, we condemn sex in government buildings? Just that. And I'd be happy. I'd be happy to see that on the books, in the history books.
I would love to know which member of Congress is going to be brave enough to put that forth, because it's going to have to be a bill. Someone will have to sponsor a bill that puts their name on it.
And then who's going to abstain, or who's going to vote it down? No, we don't need this. We already are not doing this. And then they'll short circuit. Well,
no, because this guy, like you pointed out, claims that it's homophobic. Like if you're against this, you're homophobic. Oh, okay. So you're homophobic if you're against gay sex over the desk of the Senate office building.
I just pointed out how I'm against the sexual attack on Tara Reade, which was heterosexual. So
what they could do,
I think no sex
is
in these places. I'm sorry if that sounds conservative and old-fashioned. Go ahead, David.
They could create a false flag and have somebody go have, a woman and man sex in there, and then they could say, okay, now we can do it based on all sex, so it doesn't look homophobic.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably too many videos of that already.
Right.
Yeah, just floating around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you. The chat room brings up Bill Clinton. We know that there was sex acts in the Oval Office.
Yeah, there's a slightly famous case on that, if I rember correctly.
Right. Yeah. How did I miss that one?
What,
right.
Monica Lewinsky?
I went straight to Joe Biden when there was that low hanging fruit of Bill Clinton. Yeah. So. How about that?
Very low hanging at this point, I would assume.
For both of them, yeah.
It's too many double entendres.
No more
tonight.
of this. No more sex. No more sex and defiling our government. How about we take ourselves seriously again? I would like to advocate for that.
I would like that as well. All right, let us know your thoughts on this in the chat room below. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.